The place from which I'd come before cooking at Danube couldn't have been any more different if I'd imagined it. And sometimes I think I did. To trace my journey to that kitchen in backward fashion, you have to climb up into a 12-foot U-Haul truck with me and my boyfriend Aaron. A truck whose broken-down starter requires us to park each night on a downward-facing slope that will flip-flop the starter to life each morning and keep us driving. Up, down, and around the tight hills of upstate New York. Then along the thick blacktop artery that clings to the southern coast of Canada, stopping periodically without cutting the engine, to pick up foam clamshells of fried perch and chips in the finger of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Across the stubby swamplands of Minnesota, through ghostly towns called Ball Club and Reamer and Federal Dam, on thinning two-lane blacktop, all the way to the dead-end minimum maintenance road that leads us back to the house Aaron built in the Two Inlet State Forest. This tall, one-room log cabin was best known to others for what it lacked: running water, electricity, all modern amenities, but was to us our scrappy home of the past 3 years. This humble place of origin, whose housekeeping hardships we generally ignored, gives you a pretty good idea why it never occurred to us to return a rental truck with a non-working starter. Aaron and I hadn't just driven a few thousand miles from northern Minnesota to Brooklyn. We'd also jumped forward a good 100 years. Our early life together was nothing if not a creative use of the time machine. At the house in the woods, we pumped water by hand from our own Sandpoint well and hauled it into the kitchen in plastic jugs. We kept our meat cold on blocks of ice, lit oil lamps for light when the sun went down, and showered outside in the breeze, on the hill jutting out into a swelling creek, home to a crew of honking swans and natural stand of wild rice that separated us from neighbors for miles. We basically lived on an island of the 1880s within a sea of the late 1990s. I like to think of it as our own private epic, but looking back, I'd say we pretty much lived in our heads. I admit, when we first started dating, at ages 24 and 21 respectively, and Aaron told me about his house, I thought the whole enterprise sounded a little suspect. But that was before I came to understand his pragmatic optimism, his gift for turning flamboyant fantasies into realities that parade around the room as common sense. Before we dated, I'd known of Aaron vaguely for years. He was my childhood friend Sarah's unusual older brother, one of our hometown's only ratty-haired punks, the sequin-caped lead singer of a glam rock band, and a sculptor. By the time I met him, he had graduated from art school in Minneapolis, was recently divorced from his high school sweetheart, and had moved back home to Park Rapids to build his house in the woods. He thought of himself as an old man and mockingly referred to himself as retired, a joke that hid a key shift of perspective. Going against the prevailing wind that nudged all artists toward backup plans, he reacted by throwing himself a retirement party and signing up for AARP. Making art would not be a secondary pursuit for him, but Plan A. And the new retiree was looking for a cheap retirement outpost. By building an off-the-grid house out in the country, he whittled his expenses down to nothing so that he could afford to work on artwork full-time.